Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. I come before you tonight to try to finish my homework. I need some help and some assistance. All right, all right, all right. I have had to cover this information on the Red Scare for a while, and I have not been able to do it. Okay, today we're going to be doing it with Miss Shirley Miss Shirley Murdoch. Lord Jesus. Miss Shirley Murdoch and Gerald Blake. It's morning, and we slept the night away. It happened. Now we can't turn back the hands of time. As we slept the night away, as we lay, we forgot about tomorrow as we lay. Listen, this is Joseph McCarthy on the communist threat. Okay? And I did not try to review this speech or anything like that prior to, so I'm just going to do it with you guys, okay? Because I think that'll help me to get through this assignment. All right? So thank you so much in advance for riding with me, honey, to finish this homework, okay? So here we go. Joseph McCarthy on the communist threat. Keep the previous discussion in mind as you analyze the rhetoric of our next two speakers. Our first speech is by former Senator Joseph McCarthy. Read and annotate the text below. What words, phrases, and... Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I gotta sneeze. Hold on. Okay, y'all. While I sneezed, I also went back to the previous discussion, and it was on extremist rhetoric. Okay? And let me just read to you what I wrote for extremist rhetoric. Okay. Fear of the boogeyman is uncivilized. That's what I put. Okay. I put, that is what extremist rhetoric is to me. The fear of the boogeyman, the monster in the closet, the ghoul underneath the bed. Every good parent understands that you should not allow your child to continue to be afraid of phantoms in their own mind. What is tragic is grown-ups who seek to restrict other grown-ups by stoking unrealistic fears. A real-world example is any cult you can think of. The basis is isolating followers and filling them with fear of anyone outside of the cult. What makes extremist rhetoric so effective is the dissolution of the individual and the promotion of groupthink, as well as the promise of some pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I think this type of speech is a negative impact on society because we are individuals. We may be running the same race, in the same race, flying on the same plane, but our journeys and destinations are unique. What should be done about it is to identify it and respond correctly by defending individualism and acceptance of differences while respecting others' journeys. The presenter should recognize the world does not, nor should not, revolve around them and modify their conduct. Why? Because the followers who carry out the ideas should be held accountable, as well as the presenter to the full extent of the law, criminally and civilly. Now, I wrote this yesterday. Today, I'm coming home with Kitten, and I run into a neighbor of mine who is a very weird person. Okay. This person is a I forget if it's a psychopath or sociopath, but it's the person that has delusions of being super duper special, but he has nothing to back it up. He was a janitorial type of person. This person is in his late 60s now. Wife has passed away, and he lives with his adult son. He is, I believe that he is a person who has lived off of women, and has expected women to make a life for him, kind of like how some men expect their mothers, you know, so when they get with a wife or whatever, he expects to be pampered and mothered just like a child. And this man, like I say, is going on 78 years old, and he's still saying that. So I said to him when I saw him today, I said, so why aren't you at the end of summer blast in Tacoma, which has been going on now for a week, and tonight they have fireworks and all that kind of stuff. While I'm not there, I have homework that's due, which I'm going to try to get through to it. Okay, bear with me, y'all. Thank you so much for being with me. I'm telling you, I have a lot that I think about, and I have to make a decision about what do I put into my YouTube? What do I say for my blog and my podcast? What do I post on TikTok or Facebook or Twitter, or, you know, or just don't post anything. Okay, so that's the conundrum that I always face. Okay, meanwhile, I have these action items that I have to get through. Okay, so this is one. I was able to get through gun control. I did that yesterday, and then I went on into now what I'm dealing with is the extremist rhetoric. Okay, so I just shared with you that this numbskull that I met today when I was coming home, he's saying to me, yeah, I'm isolated, I should isolate. He's a psychopath. I'm telling you, this guy is one of those people that you see on the Next 48 who kills his neighbors. He befriends his neighbors to find out if you have relatives or whatever, because so, and get information about you so he can get a life insurance policy on you so he can kill you, get the money, and nobody even knows that you knew this person. You know what I'm saying? And you have no family or anybody like that who knows that you ever even spoke to this person. Okay, that he gives me very much that. I could definitely do a blog post or write a short story on this kind of a creepy creep, but it's like, should I? Let me know. Let me think about it, pray about it, and then let me know if you think that I should. Okay, or is that the kind of fool-la-la that, you know, the public don't even need to know about it. Okay, but you know, it's between you and me. Okay. So that's the preamble and a little bit of background. Okay, and that's been what happened to me this afternoon. Okay, so Joseph McCarthy on the communist threat. So the assignment says, keep the previous discussion in mind as you analyze the rhetoric of the next two speakers, blah, 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 blah. Enter your comments by highlighting segments of text. Make at least 3 observations. Once you enter an annotation, it is saved automatically. If you hover over a highlighted segment, you will see the corresponding annotation. Okay, so I only have to do 3. And Joseph McCarthy already highlighted one annotation, which is his reference to Joseph Stalin is an allusion. Okay, so he says today, and so I'm looking for extremist rhetoric in this speech. Okay, today we're engaged in a final all-out battle between communistic atheism and Christianity. Okay, so this is a statement of his position. Okay, the modern champions of communism have selected this as the time. And ladies and gentlemen, the chips are down. They are truly down. Lest there be any doubt that the time has been chosen. Okay, so I'm going to go with the first extremist rhetoric is he repeated, the chips are down, they are truly down. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, that is alliteration. That's the device right there. Alliteration. Let me do the definition. The occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. Okay. Which I want to say anaphora. Anaphora is that repetition. Okay. Anaphora, I think that's the device. The repetition of a word or phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. So I'm going to go with anaphora for that one. So I've got allusion and I've got anaphora. So he is repeating down and down. Okay. Do anaphora. Gosh. Okay. Enter and save. Okay. Lest there be any doubt that the same time has been chosen, let us go directly to the leader of communism today, Joseph Stalin. Here is what he said, not back in 1928, not before the war, not during the war, but 2 years after the last war was ended. So he is rocking the anaphora device yet again. So let's do it again. Let's do it again. Do it, do it. And save. Okay. To think that the communist revolution can be carried out peacefully within the framework of a Christian democracy means one has either gone out of one's mind and lost all normal understanding, or has grossly and openly repudiated the communist revolution. Ladies and gentlemen, can there be anyone tonight who is so blind as to say that the war is not on? Can there be anyone who fails to realize that the communist world has said the time is now? That this is the time for the showdown between the democratic Christian world and the communistic atheistic world. Unless we face this fact, we shall pay the price that must be paid by those who wait too long. Ooh, this is dicey right there. 6 years ago, at the time of the first conference to map out the peace, Dumbarton Oaks, there was within the Soviet orbit 180 million people lined up on the anti-totalitarian side. There were in the world at that time roughly 1.625 billion people. Today, only 6 years later, there are 800 million people under the absolute domination of Soviet Russia, an increase of over 400%. On our side, the figure has shrunk to around 500 million. In other words, in less than 6 years, the odds have changed from 9 to 1 in our favor to 8 to 5 against us. This indicates the swiftness of the tempo of communist victories and American defeats in the Cold War. Sweet Jesus. Anyway, this device that he's using with the numbers, can you guess what rhetoric that is? Statistics. So let us highlight and add that. Statistics. A lot of people don't like statistics because they believe that you can make the numbers say what you want it to say. You know, anyway, let's move on. Which is where he's drawing his conclusion as to what this means, right? So he is saying, go here. He says, this indicates the swiftness of the tempo of communist victories and American defeats in the Cold War. As one of our outstanding As one of our, what's he saying? As one of our outstanding historical figures once said, so he doesn't mention him. Hold on. Uh, when a great democracy is destroyed, it will not be from enemies from without, but rather because of enemies from within. So who is this that he is mentioning? Let's find out, shall we? Let's see who that's, because this will be another allusion. I only had to do 3, but I just can't help but keep going. A lot of people would just stop. Once they made 3 observations, go on to the next assignment, you know. But I'm trying to get my money's worth, Gilderoy. Okay. Okay. They say it's probably Abraham Lincoln. While the Pacific quote is almost certainly manufactured, the core idea could easily have been taken from Lincoln's Lyceum speech. Okay? Looks like he just made it up, you guys. He just made it up. That's why he said a well-known person, blah blah blah, and he doesn't credit his source. Does not credit his source. I googled it, and some say that he just made this up. Is fake news a rhetorical device? Save. I don't know what you call this. I'm gonna put fake news. I don't know what professor is gonna say about it, but I'm gonna put it. I don't know what my professor gonna say. Oh, he probably gonna say, "Oh, the Lord have mercy, Coletha May." Okay, so let me go down and say that. All right. The truth of this statement is becoming terrifyingly clear as we see this country each day losing on every front. At war's end, we were physically the strongest nation on earth, and at least potentially the most powerful intellectually and morally. Ours could have been the honor of being a beacon in the desert of destruction, a shining living proof that civilization was not ready to destroy itself. Unfortunately. Okay, so this right here, I just can't help it, y'all. Y'all gonna have to forgive me. Ours could have been the honor of being a beacon in the desert of destruction, a shining living proof that civilization was not yet ready to destroy itself. Okay, so I'm gonna go a beacon in the desert of destruction. This is clearly a metaphor. Okay, so that's that one. Save. Unfortunately, we have failed miserably and tragically to rise to the opportunity. This is fatalistic, totally fatalistic. His rhetoric begins negatively and progressively becomes more desperate, more and more tragic, or more gloomy as the speech continues. Okay. Save. I'm going to say this is extremist rhetoric. This is the extremist rhetoric. To make a note to the previous discussion, okay? Extremist. This is an example of it. Extremist rhetoric, comma. And I'm going to save that. The reason why we find ourselves in a position of impotency, oh my God, he went straight for the groin. It's not because of our only powerful, it's not, okay. The reason why we find ourselves in a position of impotency is not because of our only powerful potential enemy has sent men to invade our shores, but rather because of the traitorous actions of those who have been treated so well by this nation. Sweet Jesus. Boy, it sounds like somebody just heard here lately. They could be talking about the Black Lives Matter. They could be talking about women's rights, voting rights. It's very apropos, okay? Listen, let's continue. It has not been the less fortunate or members of minority groups who have been selling this nation out, but rather those who have had all the benefits that the wealthiest nation on earth has had to offer. The finest homes, the finest college education, and the finest jobs in government we can give. This is glaringly true in the State Department. Oh my God. The bright young men who were born from silver spoons in their mouths are the ones who have been worse. In my opinion, the State Department, which is one of the most important government departments, is thoroughly infested with communists. I have here in my hand a list of 205, a list of names that were made known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party and who nevertheless are still working and shaping policy in the State Department. One thing to remember in discussing the communists in our government is that we are not dealing with spies who get 30 pieces of silver to steal the blueprints of a new weapon. We are dealing with a far more sinister type of activity because it permits the enemy to guide and shape our policy. This brings us down to the case of Alger Hiss, who is important not as an individual anymore, but rather because he is so representative of a group in the State Department. It is unnecessary to go over the sordid events showing how he sold out the nation which had given him so much. Those are rather fresh in all of our minds. However, it should be remembered that the facts in regard to his connection with this international communist spy ring were made known to the then Undersecretary of State Burl 3 days after Hitler and Stalin signed the Russo-German Alliance Pact. At that time, one Whittaker Chambers, who was also part of the spy ring, apparently decided that with Russia on Hitler's side, he could no longer betray our nation to Russia. He gave Undersecretary of State Burl, and this is all a matter of record, practically all, if not more, of the facts upon which his conviction, HISS apostrophe, conviction was based. As you hear this story of high treason, I know that you are saying to yourself, well, why doesn't the Congress do something about it? Actually, ladies and gentlemen, one of the important reasons for the graft, the corruption, the dishonesty, the disloyalty, the treason in high government positions, you know, that again, that is anaphora. Okay. Let me just mark that, you guys, real quick. And save. Okay. One of the most important reasons why this continues is a lack of moral uprising on the part of the 140 million American people. In the light of history, however, this is not hard to explain. It is the result of an emotional hangover and a temporary moral lapse which follows every war. It is the apathy to evil which people who have been subjected to the tremendous evils of war feel. As the people of the world see mass murder, the destruction of defenseless and innocent people, and all of the crime and lack of morals which go with war, they become numb and apathetic. It has always been thus after war. I don't know about that, but let's continue. However, the morals of our people have not been destroyed. They still exist. This cloak of numbness and apathy has only needed a spark to rekindle them. Happily, this spark has finally been supplied. As you know, very recently, the Secretary of State proclaimed his loyalty to a man guilty of what has always been considered the most abominable of all crimes, being a traitor to the people who gave him a position of great trust. God, it sounds like he could be talking about Snowden, right? Except this was before Snowden's time, right? Listen, he says, okay. However, the morals of our people have not been destroyed. They still exist. This cloak of numbness and apathy has only needed a spark to rekindle them. Happily, this spark has finally been supplied. Sounds ominous. As you know, very recently, the Secretary of State proclaimed his loyalty to a man guilty of what has always been considered the most abominable of all crimes. Okay, you guys, I'm going to make sure, because I'm looking over here. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay, hold on. You see it's getting dark. Okay. Okay. He says, as you know, very recently the Secretary of State proclaimed his loyalty to a man guilty of what has always been considered as the most abominable of all crimes, being a traitor to the people who gave him a position of great trust. The Secretary of State, in attempting to justify his continued devotion to the man who sold out the Christian world to the atheistic world, referred to Christ's Sermon on the Mount as a justification and reason, therefore, and reaction of the American people to this would have made the heart of Abraham Lincoln happy. When this pompous diplomat in striped pants with a phony British accent proclaimed to the American people that Christ on the Mount endorsed communism, high treason, and betrayal of a sacred trust, the blasphemy was so great that it awakened the dormant indignation of the American people. He has lighted the spark which is resulting in a moral uprising and will end only when the whole sorry mess of twisted, warped thinkers are swept from the national scene so that we may have a new birth of honesty and decency in government. Y'all, Joseph McCarthy. That was the speech on Joseph McCarthy, okay? I only had to do, let me just make sure of that. I just had to make 3 observations. I did more than that. So I'm going to go on to the next one, okay? Background, Joseph McCarthy. That's the next thing I was going to look up. Also something else too. Let's see, Joseph McCarthy, the speaker. The term McCarthyism, I've heard of that before. And do you know who McCarthy looks like? Ted Cruz. Joseph McCarthy looks like Ted Cruz. So let me look up something right quick. I want to see when it is Is Joseph McCarthy dead? I think he is. Let me put, when did he die? May 2nd, 1957. Ooh, this man look just like Ted Cruz. He looks like Ted Cruz, y'all, the senator from Texas. Ew. Okay, let me find out. I'm just being messy now. Y'all, I think this man is a reincarnation of Joseph McCarthy. Died May the 2nd, 1957. It says, he continued to speak against communism and socialism until his death at the age of 48 at Bethesda Naval Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland on May 2nd, 1957. His death certificate listed the cause of death as acute hepatitis, cause unknown. Oh, I think they took him out. He was an American politician and attorney who served as a Republican U.S. Senator from the state of Wisconsin from 1947 until his death in 1957. Sweet Jesus. From Wisconsin, the cheese people. Ted Cruz is an American politician and attorney, serving as a junior United States Senator for Texas since 2013. That's 8 years. A member of the Republican Party, Cruz served as the Solicitor General of Texas from 2003 to 2008. Born December 22nd, 1970. He's 50 years old now. So he's 2 years older than McCarthy was. McCarthy passed at 48. He was born in Canada, though. Foothills Medical Center, Calgary, Canada. Huh. Oh. That's weird. But Joseph, let me look at Joseph McCarthy again. Hold on. Joseph McCarthy. Yes, I'm sorry, y'all. He does. He looks just like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz just looks a little bit more goofy, but they got the same face. Creepy. It was when I saw this here in my class, the background of Joseph McCarthy in this picture. He looks just like Ted Cruz. The only weird thing is, okay. Well, I can't tell. He got some weird ears. He got some big old ears too. What if, I ain't gonna say it, I'm just being messy. Let's continue, y'all. Pardon me. Here, pardon me. Wow. Ted Cruz rode in to office based on the Tea Party. Y'all remember the Tea Party? They were the Tea Party people. Back when Obama was in office. You remember Tea Party? The Tea Party people that we never hear about them anymore. They said Harvard Law outsider became Tea Party hero. That's how he got in. Wow. And looks like he was always full of himself. Let's get back to Mr. McCarthy, okay? The term McCarthyism stems from Senator Joseph McCarthy's 1950 to 1954 campaign to rid the United States government of communists and communist sympathizers. It refers to widespread accusations of wrongdoing, often based on little or no evidence. Fake news. Okay. The concept of McCarthyism is commonly applied in political contexts. There's another thing like religiously is Calvinism. You know. Anyway, let's continue. The concept of McCarthyism is commonly applied in political context, especially in regards to the questioning of an individual or group's assumed patriotism or allegiance. The term also implies unwarranted aggression on the part of the accuser. Well, hell, we're dealing with that every day now. Accusation after accusation, right? By everybody. Just, okay, let's continue. Joseph McCarthy was trained as a lawyer and served as a judge in Wisconsin before serving in the Marine Corps during World War II. After the war, he decided to run for public office. He won his Senate seat in 1946 and spent his first few years in Congress in relative obscurity. On February 9, 1950, McCarthy delivered what came to be known as his Enemies Within speech in Wheeling, West Virginia. That's what I just read, okay? He would go on to reiterate his claims on the Senate floor and elsewhere. These words mark the beginning of Joseph McCarthy's tireless crusade against the communist threat at home and abroad, both real and imagined. Why nobody can call these guys on their BS? That's what I don't understand. I didn't understand it when Trump was in office, and I don't understand what it is about these people that this deranged person can stand up and just say a whole bunch of lies, and people just don't say nothing. They don't redirect nothing. It's crazy. Okay. America's fear of communism was not new. The roots of the Red Scare ran deep in our history. In capitalist societies, there was a general distrust of socialism from its beginnings. Immigration, labor tensions, and the Russian Revolution intensified many Americans' sense of unease with its foreign ideology. McCarthy was not the first to paint it as antithetical to Christianity. Eventually, these streams of opposition became more formalized. In 1938, the House Committee on Un-American Activities, which I heard of them before, they never bothered nobody in my family. They were mostly going towards Hollywood and celebrities. So the HUAC, the House Committee of Un-American Activities, began to investigate instances of subversion. Communists were considered the most significant threat. The committee interrogated many individuals, particularly artists. That's what I remember. That's what I remember. Particularly artists whom the committee members determined to have socialist leanings. Now, remember I was telling you about my older sister, Darlene? This was a major concern for my parents and my grandmother because she had worked for the Texas Senate, and you know, my dad had been in the war and all this kind of stuff, and we had lots of connections to Texas politics. So for him to have a daughter, her granddaughter, to be this hippy-dippy chick who was anti-government, it was a concern. And it was a discussion in the house, especially because she was an artist. Because she was one of those dashiki wearing, you know, power to the people type of person. The Black Panthers was, you know, going crazy. It was conversations in the house about this. Okay? So this is not ancient history. This is stuff that I remember in my lifetime. Discussions about these very things that were happening, that was going on. And there was some fear for her, because of her opinions and her lifestyle, that she might get herself into some trouble and get the family into some trouble because of her political leanings, or what could be perceived as anti-government rhetoric. Okay, let's continue. Particular artists whom the committee members determined to have socialist leanings, which they did. Trying to go to an ashram and all of that, y'all. Okay. Okay, let me go ahead. I'm back in the 70s. Anyway, listen. It says, whom the committee members determined to have socialist leanings. In one famous case, HUAC, a committee on un-American activities, House Committee, questioned the Hollywood 10 filmmakers who were current or former members of the Communist Party. The committee offered them immunity on the condition that they expose other party members or their so-called fellow travelers or associates. All 10 witnesses refused to testify. They were found in contempt, fired by their studios, and blacklisted in the industry, as were many others who came after them. Some of the allegations were more credible than others, in particular the case of Alger Hiss, a State Department official accused of espionage, captured the nation's attention and imagination as it did McCarthy's. Fears of communist influence and ascendance were not entirely unfounded. After World War II, the Soviet Union dominated most of Eastern Europe. The Soviets detonated their first atomic bomb in 1949. Shoot, my mom was 6 years old. And so was my Uncle Chester. He was 6 years old in 1949. Wow, that's crazy. And my mama's still alive, The same year, Mao Zedong seized power in China. Mao, Chairman Mao. Communist powers were indeed extending their reach abroad. HUAC had unmasked traitors at home. McCarthy was convinced others remained and determined to work from the Senate side to expose them. A fearful public was willing to overlook his sometimes questionable tactics to guarantee their security. McCarthy's popularity grew as quickly as did his list of suspects. The speech. Okay. McCarthy had accused government officials of subversion before. Here he is more specific. He definitely states that 205 employees of the State Department are members of the Communist Party. The Secretary of State is aware of this and has done nothing. Interestingly, for someone so strong in his convictions, McCarthy was surprisingly inconsistent with his numbers. Okay? Because he's making it up, as extremists do, right? The next day in the Senate, he made his famous claim to know of 57 card-carrying members of the Communist Party in the State Department. In a quote given 10 days later, the tally changed to 81. So it went from 205 to 57 to 81. The Hiss case, Alger Hiss, had made the State Department the perfect target. McCarthy seized on this and other incidents to sow fear and consolidate his power. It is easy to look back now and dismiss the McCarthy years as an instance of Cold War hysteria. The Soviet Union at the time was in fact a genuine threat, but McCarthy conflated that threat with any deviation from his narrow definition of patriotism. Soon, no one could contradict him for fear of being labeled a traitor. So he was using fear to get people to call out their friends as being communists. Meanwhile, it was the fear of being called unpatriotic or a traitor that people allowed him. Do you see a quagmire of stupidity? Do you see a ball of confusion wrapped up at the core? Fear. Fear, fear, fear. Okay. Some, including his fellow Senator Margaret Chase Smith, saw he was dangerous. 4 months after Wheeling, she made an impassioned speech, which we will study next, criticizing McCarthy and his supporters' methods and tone. But world events quickly overshadowed her objections when, less than 3 weeks later, the North invaded South Korea. Timing. It was no longer politically expedient to oppose the anti-communist crusader from Wisconsin. Other Republicans joined him in his demands for more thorough investigations. Others, including President Eisenhower and then Senator John F. Kennedy, found McCarthy distasteful but did not dare contradict him for fear of being branded soft on communism. This, if you're not for us, you're against us logic, appears again and again in the rhetoric that uses fear to persuade. It uses fear to persuade, also fear to dissuade. Okay? It's a double-edged sword, honey. And either way is destruction. It's not productive or helpful in any way. McCarthy wasn't the first to use this approach, and he will not be the last. Since this time, many have invoked his name when they have felt unfairly accused. Others dismissed their opposition by claiming to be victims of a McCarthyist witch hunt. These are often the same people who seek to motivate through fear. Listen for echoes of McCarthy's language in the rhetoric you encounter. Keep in mind that line between motivation and manipulation will not always be clear. Boom, there you have it. There you have it. That's why I believe in leaving people to their own designs. I will say quickly, I don't know. I don't know. I can't help you with that. I don't know nothing about it. I don't know nothing about it. I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about it. I don't know. I don't know, honey. I wonder whatever happened to that lady that spoke against Joseph McCarthy, though. What was her name again? Her name was Margaret Chase Smith. I wonder if she's J.P. Morgan Chase. I wonder if she's affiliated with those guys. Let's see right quick. Margaret Chase Smith. She is, wow, what a name. Margaret Madeline Chase Smith was an American politician, a member of the Republican Party. This is kind of like giving me this, the lady who stood up against the Republican Party just recently, and they voted her out of her position in the GOP. Put it down in the comments, you know how we do. I can't remember her name, but she tried to hold their feet to the fire and they kicked her out. Margaret Chase Smith was born December 14th, 1897 in Skowhegan, Maine. She died May the 29th, 1995 in the same place. Um, Republican Party. Her book is called Declaration of Conscience, and she had a lot of siblings. Okay, a lot of siblings. Um, she served as a U.S. representative and a U.S. senator from Maine. She was the first woman to serve in both houses of the United States Congress and the first woman to represent Maine in either. Bless her heart. Girl, she tried. That's why, let me see. She was 2 years from being 100 when she passed. Whereas Joseph McCarthy, he died when he was 48 years old from hepatitis. Yeah. Um, she was born in 1897 and she passed in 1995, 2 years shy of 100 years old. That's impressive. She's from Maine. She was the representative from Maine, the gentlewoman from Maine. And she tried to tell this man, and I don't think they listened to her. I guess, it's like you do what you can, and if you're not received or whatever, just don't take it to heart, don't take it personally, and just keep it moving. Just keep it moving. Wow, it's just amazing. Margaret Chase Smith. Mm-mm-mm. Very impressive, very impressive. Clearly, she did not take it to heart. Clearly, because she went on with her life. She went on with her life. Margaret Chase Smith, chair of the Senate Republican Conference. Wow. In office from January 3rd, 1967 to January 3rd, 1973. Go ahead on. She was in there and then she went on and left. That is crazy. She served for many years. She was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from Maine's 2nd District in office June 3rd, 1940 to January 3rd, 1949. And then United States Senator from Maine from January 3rd, 1949 to January 3rd, 1973. And during that time, she was also the chair of the Senate Republican Conference. Got her pearls on and everything. I know that's right, girl. Let's see, what it say in Eastern. National Women's Hall of Fame inductee. Maine Women's Hall of Fame. That's cool. She has a library, the Margaret Chase Smith Library. And Declaration of Conscience, that was a book that she read. An interview at Smithsonian Folkways. No Place for a Woman, A Life of Senator Margaret Chase Smith. Oh, that makes me want to cry. The Highest Glass Ceiling, Women's Quest for the American Presidency, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Harvard University Press. You just would think that people would just be fair, but they just won't. Just can't get right, ain't gonna do right, ain't gonna pack fair, will not do what they are just supposed to do. They just won't do it. They just won't do it. Oh well. All right, you guys. I'm hitting next. Okay. And that's where I'm going to pause for tonight. Okay. So I hate to leave on a sad note, but it's just sad to me that the people who have been born to lead and to help us, and they just, nobody want to listen to them. And the charlatan and the bad person, and that's the one that the people support. It's like they don't want to be helped. They don't want all of the wonderful, glorious things that they're supposed to have. They don't want it. They like to suffer. They like to be tormented. You can't help them. So I guess that's why she left in 1973, and she went on and lived her life many, many years, to 1997 when she passed. Lord have mercy. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This has been your host, ColethaAlbert, and I've been reading to you the speech of Joseph McCarthy, the senator from Wisconsin, in my Harvard rhetoric class on the device extremist rhetoric. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Please tune in next time. I don't know what I'm going to be covering. If you follow my regular production schedule that airs every Monday at 10 a.m. your time. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. God bless you, and I'll talk to you another time. Bye for now. Oh, please like this video. Please share this video. Please subscribe to this channel if you're new here. Okay? Thank you. Bye.